A very good evening to all our viewers. I'm joining you from London. I apologize for my absence the last few days, but we were all immersed in a flagship event, We the Women. It's first edition in London, and you can see a lot of videos from that event on our platform. One of the most keenly watched and keenly awaited speakers at our flagship festival was, of course, Dr. Shashi Tharoor. He was our finale speaker, and everybody queued up to hear him. He's very much man of the moment, man in the headlines, and everybody wants to know, is he switching sides? Will his party expel him? What might he do next? Is he going to stay on in the Congress but maneuver his way into a new role? All of these speculations have started after he has become pretty much the most preeminent face of the country and of the government on the messaging in relation to Operation Sindoor. We did put that question to Shashi Tharoor. We'll play out his answer. This debate, even as the Congress finds itself a divided house in Karnataka with the battle lines now sharpening between DK Shivakumar and Mr. Siddaramaiah. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. On the program today, we are looking at the comments made by Shashi Tharoor at our flagship festival, We the Women, here in London. Shashi Tharoor was asked by me repeatedly on whether he might switch sides, what his next plan might be. Does he think that he can stay on in the Congress party? How does he feel at the rumors that he might, in fact, have a role in the Modi cabinet? How has he become even more of a dominant face than the foreign minister Jai Shankar by some accounts? There you can see him interacting with Kareena Kapoor, whom he presented an award to. He also received an award as a change maker because he has dominated the headlines and, as I said, very effectively and powerfully messaged for India on Operation Sindoor around the world. You see him there with his sister, Smita Tharoor. A lot to talk about as we play out these special images and these special clips from our festival. Let me introduce our three very distinguished guests who are going to help us decode what Shashi said to us here in London. Dilip Cherian, political analyst, brand guru, is with us. Always a pleasure, Dilip. Also joining us is Sugata Srinivasraju, just out with a new book of his own. Do please have a look at it. Welcome to the program, Sugata. And also joining us is Madhavan Narayan, senior journalist. Welcome everybody to the program. Shashi was quite careful in answering the questions I put to him. He was also mindful of the fact that he was not, he was not in his home country. He was, as it were, on foreign soil. But I'm not sure how much different of an answer he could have given anyway, even if these questions were asked to him in Delhi or Thiruvananthapuram. I'm not even sure he or anybody else knows the answers to these questions. But before we start our conversation, let me just play out this clip from our conversation at We the Women. So can we talk a little bit about how you have become, in a way, the most effective, the most visible face of India's message on Operation Sindoor, traveling all around the world, first as a member of leading an all-party delegation, and then to all of these other countries, speaking in French in Moscow. I mean, I don't know what you've been up to, but how did you, we have some pictures of Shashi hitting, not even the pavement, but I don't even know what to call the air equivalent of the pavement. But my question to you is, you're an opposition member of parliament, and you have become India's and the government's most effective ambassador. Can you make sense of this?
Well, you're very kind to say that. I wouldn't claim such a label for myself. But as far as the opposition is concerned, don't forget that when Pahalgam happened, all the parties in the country rallied behind the government and behind, when Sindoor happened, behind the armed forces. And that, therefore, was my cue. I mean, that there was no real difference. We've often taken the view that our political differences have to stop at the borders. And I think that that's pretty much been my approach as well. There would be things that I would be prepared to say against the government at home that I tend not to say when I'm abroad, largely because, we can fight our own battles. We don't need to take them outside. Even if the audience is largely Indian, as it often is these days with the strength of our diaspora, nonetheless, I think it's important that we preserve that distinction. Secondly, I've always been an advocate of bipartisanship in foreign policy. When I first became chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, External Affairs, back in 2014, I said that, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as a BJP foreign policy or a Congress foreign policy. There's only Indian foreign policy
Well said.
and Indian national interests. And to my mind, that's what my job was all about. I'm back in the saddle as chairman of the committee again now, but I don't think it was particularly because of a position in that committee that I was asked to go. The government decided, I think rightly, to send a message of unity through these delegations.
Absolutely.
I think all-party delegation is a difficult word to use because we have 41 parties in the Lok Sabha, but a multi-party delegation, 7 multi-party delegations. And strikingly, 3 of them were led by opposition MPs, Supriya Sule, Kanimuri, and myself. And I think all of that sends a good message to the outside world that this is not a party political effort. This is a national Indian message. And I think it went across very well in that way.
And well done. And I completely agree with you. But you know what? A lot of people, and I totally take the point, I'm not sort of trying to bring politics here, that this was about India. This wasn't about party A, party B, government X and opposition Y. But a lot of people want to know what Shashi Tharoor will do next. And the reason we're bringing this up is you had a very cryptic post on social media. You had a little sort of slide, graphic slide, and it said you don't need anyone's permission to fly. Are you flying the coop? Are you leaving the Congress?
No.
And if not, why not? Because
listen,
they don't seem to appreciate you.
Number one, there's no point in issuing a tweet if the tweet can't speak for itself.
So it did speak for itself.
Exactly. I'm not amplifying.
It said you are not going to seek the permission or the consent of people to be yourself. That's what I understood it to be.
But that's always been the case with me, Barkha. Hasn't that been a problem for very many people for a very long time?
It's both your most strong trait and gets you into trouble in politics sometimes.
I suppose that's partially true. I mean, one of the challenges of our system is indeed that we are very heavily linked to party process. It's a feature of the parliamentary system, but even within, say, the British parliamentary system here, individual MPs have far more more
sort of space to take positions.
Flexibility, to take their own positions. And you may remember that when they were discussing in Parliament the question of going to war over Iraq, not only members of the ruling party of the government, but even ministers dissented from the government's position. If I remember right, Robin Cook, I think, was the foreign secretary who objected to his own government's decision to go to war. So these things are possible in Britain. They're not in the Indian ethos. And perhaps that's partially one of the specific challenges we all have. And in any party, it's not about my party alone. In any party, you're supposed to sort of rigidly stick to a line, and that line is determined, unfortunately, by processes that are often considered opaque, even within those parties. And so at the end of the day, if you have a mind of your own, it becomes, you either have to stifle it, or if you're lucky, it happens to be exactly the view that your party is taking and you go along with it.
So at the moment,
you're
not stifling yourself?
No, listen, I was given, as these other opposition MPs also were, a mission on behalf of the country.
This panel is called Man on a
Mission to the best of my ability, and that's exactly what I went to do. And I must say that the message was well received, wherever we went.
Absolutely. And therefore my question, and this is really a genuine question. When I met you in Thiruvananthapuram, in the assembly election, you were on the in the Lok Sabha election, and you were on the campaign trail. And he's a 4-time member of parliament from Thiruvananthapuram. You said at that time, I said, what next? And you said, well, you know what? I don't know, but like the only next thing left to be is Kerala Chief Minister. We were chatting at that time. On record, I'm not quoting from a secret conversation.
Sounds like you might.
No, I have the camera clip. Then, now everybody says, hey, why can't Shashi just be like, no offense to Mr. Jaishankar, but foreign minister?
No, first of all, there's no vacancy.
But if there were a vacancy, if there were a reshuffle.
Look, first of all, as you all know, I mean, our system doesn't really make that kind of possibility terribly likely. I think this is not, frankly, a conversation I'm particularly keen on having, A, in London, and B, on a public platform, because we've just come back from these journeys. There's been a lot going on. I've landed here to take a breather. I thought we were going to be talking about women.
We are.
Good.
We are.
So let's talk about a woman foreign minister.
And men. Right. So that's as much as I was able to get out of him. At the end of it, he kind of bailed, saying he's in London, he's at We the Women, so he can't talk too much about politics. But I'll start with you, Dilip. A lot of people have commented on the fact that instead of Dr. Shankar, Shashi seems to have emerged as the more visible face, going to Moscow, going here, going there. He's now going to be taking part in the Doha dialogues, presenting the India position. And when I kind of half jokingly said, there are rumors that tomorrow you could find a place in the Modi cabinet. Your thing seems to be foreign policy. He quipped and said there's no vacancy, and then he wouldn't answer anymore. What's going on? I mean, how do you read what's happening? This has gone well beyond Operation Sindoor. There's obviously something else that's going on here, and what do you see it as? Could we unmute Dilip, please?
Yeah, the rumor mills in Delhi are, of course, working overtime on this subject. What do we expect? Uh, I think most people do not expect Shashi to be replacing Jai Shankar, even if Jai Shankar himself is, there are rumors about his own longevity. So I don't see, and most people don't see Shashi as likely to take that position if there was a vacancy for it. Do I see him joining the BJP for a position less than that of the EAM? I don't see Shashi joining the BJP. So there's a bit of a conundrum there, and I think Shashi at the moment recognizes that both his access and his ease of connecting with people globally is because he is, in a sense, not the government, because then they would treat him differently. And he is a smart enough diplomat to know what the cost of that would be if he were to switch sides or be the official rep of the government of India. Representing India is a whole different thing. An opposition member representing India is a very attractive proposition today to a lot of global platforms, think tanks, leaders, etc. You name it. So I think Shashi is clever enough to read the tea leaves, and I think he would not want to wake up one day and, to cross metaphors, smell a different kind of coffee.
So what I'm hearing you say, Dilip, before I go to Sugata and Madhavan, is for less than being foreign minister of India, you don't see Shashi even considering changing sides. And for anything else, why would he change sides? This role, where he's sort of this wandering ambassador for India, suits him perfectly, suits the BJP perfectly, but does it suit the Congress perfectly?
I don't think that matters to Shashi anymore. Shashi recognizes that for the Congress, it's not a big enough thing to make a noise about, but it will only give more advantage to Shashi, which is the last thing they want to do.
Yeah. So let's open this up. Basically, you're saying, Dilip, status quo for now. Status quo is going to just carry on like this. The Congress is going to look the other way from it. The BJP is going to enjoy troubling the Congress a little bit, making use of Shashi. Jai Shankar, you don't see him, you don't see something as dramatic or cataclysmic as, Shashi. Basically, he may be ousting Jai Shankar from some of the photo op moments, but not from anything
Definitely.
else. Sugata, do you agree? What's going
I
on
mean,
here?
yeah, I completely agree, Barkha. Thank you for having me. I mean, I completely agree with what Dilipji just said. See, I don't think Shashi Tharoor has space in the BJP. He may. But I mean that one particular sentence that Dilipji said. If he's offered the external affairs ministry and nothing less than that. See, I don't think that offer will ever come, and I don't think he has a space in the BJP because of the kind of politics he's been doing and the kind of adulation and admiration and the kind of symbol that he has become in India. I don't think that fits into the BJP space. See, and I heard him very carefully now and earlier when you played out the clip. See, his was a very measured, patriotic voice. And the BJP knew that if they sent their own people, it would sound like a cringe, nationalistic drumbeat. and they needed a measured patriotic voice. And if you observe very carefully the kind of language, and Shashi is a master of language, and the kind of language and the sobriety with which he spoke is exactly what you needed in the times of war. And I think the BJP has had the good sense. Prime Minister Modi has had the good sense to deploy him. And he has very clearly framed his role as a patriotic role. He is not saying India is great, India is Vishwaguru, India is that, we are superior, we are that. No, he's being extremely pragmatic in the way he's speaking. Even when he sort of gave you those little, a bird's eye view of what he spoke with foreign governments, I mean, I think he was very, very clear. He was very pragmatic. He was not raising your hopes. So he is a symbol of a very different India, a new India, which is an India of that is sort of frame. I mean, become what it has become after the millennium. 2000. So Shashi Tharoor, if at all, I mean, let me hazard this guess, because you asked him a very big question. Are you crossing over? So let me hazard this guess. If at all Shashi Tharoor has to carve an independent political line, I think he will probably look at some kind of an urban political party, because the Aam Aadmi Party promised to be that. It did not. It failed miserably. But Shashi Tharoor, as a symbol of urban India, trying to make coalitions with parties which are in rural India would be a fabulous third option that India may have. And the Congress, I mean, I don't want to use any kind of even a mild abuse. The stupidity with which Congress has looked at the whole thing is sad. I mean, it's absolutely sad. In fact, we are in the 50 years of emergency, Barkha, and I would like to categorize this. The way they have looked at all the critics inside the party, the Congress party, is a continuation of the Indira Gandhi emergency, authoritarian, Cold War, coldness mindset. It's a Cold War coldness mindset with which they are looking at their own critics. It's a very, very sad thing. And I wish, I mean, and they've put, let me also say, I mean, I'm saying this with a great deal of responsibility after having looked at thousands and thousands of pages of archival material, that they've always put dynasty over democracy. And that is why a Shashi Tharoor is a problem for them, a Jyotiraditya Scindia is a problem, a Milind Deora is a problem, a Ghulam Nabi Azad is a problem, a Hemant Biswa Sarma is a problem. The list is very, very long, a Jitin Prashada, etc., etc., etc. So if they had sort of put democracy above dynasty, I think half the problem would have been sorted out. They should have rejoiced the fact that Shashi Tharoor has become the fine ambassador that he is of patriotic India. And instead of doing that, they sort of completely cold-shouldered him and has pushed him to a point where he had to tweet the other day that the sky is clear and he can fly and he doesn't need
Yeah.
anybody's permission.
So there's his tweet, and that's why I wonder about what Dilip seems to feel the status quo will hold. Madhavan, you had a very different comment. You said he's like somebody serving out high talent serving out their notice period. Like
Yeah, in
you
fact,
actually believe. Yeah, what did you say?
I,
Remind us.
I said something off the cuff, and it's got as we speak 4,000 likes on Twitter, which basically echoes with a certain urban middle class phenomenon. I said that he's behaving like a high star employee of a multinational on a notice period. You sort of let off your guard, but you're still there. You aren't doing anything
Yeah.
wrong, but there is
Yeah.
a certain a slightly mildly flippant attitude, as you can see on the screen from that. So much so that I
Yeah.
was joking that he's apparently he's also been singing "Ek Ajnabi Hasina Se Mulakat Ho Gayi," which coincides with your We the Women conference on the one hand, and then I was sharing that tweet on Instagram with the music that said from rockstar A.R. Rahman's song, "Fir se ud chala." So the question is he actually urchalawing? Is he still flying again? And my answer to that is that it was apparent from his interview to you that he's very guarded in a manner that shows, to quote Shakespeare from Julius Caesar, It's not that he loves the Congress any less, but he loves the country more. So that is the nuanced position he's having. But we have to read between the lines and hear between the words, because the context is very clear. As Sugata said, he's been underutilized in the Congress. For somebody who nearly became the Secretary General of the United Nations, he's being treated like a backbencher, which is just not on. A third thing is that in Kerala Congress, he's facing a lot of carping and you know uh, sort of bitching sort of an atmosphere. And
Yeah.
last but not the least, he's been part of the G23 in Congress, which is a group of dissidents. And then he's also contested for whatever it's worth against Kharge when the presidential election happened. So Shashi Tharoor, to contextualize what Sugata said, he's always seen himself as a party man and not a dynasty man with a personality. And I dare say two things right now. One is that there is a certain what I call fling of convenience between the BJP and Shashi Tharoor, because after Operation Sindoor, I was on your show recently where I said that Operation Sindoor is a military success but a diplomatic setback. This I want to say it again. And BJP and Narendra Modi needs Shashi Tharoor more than Shashi Tharoor needs the party. This is my assessment. So he does this in such a way that it becomes a win-win situation where BJP conveys the image that all is not well with the Congress party while using his offices to
But how
play
long
good
can this
cop.
go on? I mean, flings are short-lived, right? You
Good
said it's a
question.
fling.
Good question. Which is why
Yeah.
my money is still, there's a lot of baggage. In fact, I was with your colleague Zafar discussing
Yeah.
the same topic, where I said that I quoted the Jagjit Singh ghazal, "Baat niklegi to dur tak jayegi." A past will be dug up. So there was a time when Modi referred to Shashi Tharoor and said, 50 crore ki girlfriend. And Shashi Tharoor has written tomes and made speeches against RSS and the BJP. So they make for very, uneasy bedfellows. But as we know, adversity makes for strange
Yeah.
bedfellows. So I think my final analysis is that Shashi Tharoor, if at all he is friendly with the BJP, will not be inside the party, but I do see him as a special envoy on a project in the UN or a G20 Sherpa or something like that, which has
Exactly.
a. So I see him as a utility man for the BJP without compromising his traditional position as a secular, liberal, nationalistic person who's a modernist, sort of progressive, not in the economic, social sense, but certainly in the sense of pluralism and stuff like that.
But the question now is, if he is used as a special envoy on a mission like Operation Sindoor now, G20 tomorrow, can he still remain in the Congress party, or does he emerge as an independent politician, a possibly he's already, right now he's a Lok Sabha member of parliament, but he could tomorrow be a Rajya Sabha nominated member, an independent person with a lateral entry. I don't know if I'm going too far into the Modi cabinet. I want you all to think about that. Also, is it door shut for his earlier ambition to be Kerala chief minister? Just once again, I want to play out Mr. Kharge's comments. We saw this past week Kharge take a swipe at Shashi Tharoor and his language skills. Take a look.
अंग्रेजी मेरे को पढ़ने बड़ा नहीं आता, उनकी लैंग्वेज बहुत अच्छी है, उसीलिए तो हम पार्टी में उनको वर्किंग कमेटी मेंबर बनाया है। तो लेकिन मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि पूरे लोग, अपोजिशन के पूरे लोग मिलके हमने कहा कि देश की आर्मी के साथ हैं, जो हमारा आर्मी लड़ रहा है उसके साथ हैं। तो इसीलिए पहला आवाज मैंने उठाया गुलबर्गे के पत्रकार परिषद में। हम बोले कि देश बड़ा है सबसे, देश के लिए हम सभी लोग मिलके काम करेंगे, पार्टी बाद, देश फर्स्ट हमने कहा। वो अब चंद लोग ऐसा कहते हैं मोदी फर्स्ट देश बाद, तो अब हम क्या करें उसको।
So let's open this up, Dilip. Is the Kerala CM dream for Shashi over? It may not even be his dream anymore. He has seen a kind of different sort of stage for himself. And I think Madhavan makes an interesting point or paints an interesting scenario, the possibility of becoming kind of like a global ambassador for India, going from country A to country B, but without joining the BJP?
There are two questions you've asked. One is what kind of position? And the only position that would give him an official uh, opportunity to do the kind of firefighting across the world would be, say, permanent rep at the UN. Okay, that's a possibility. Of course, given the fact that, as Madhavan said, he did make a feeble attempt to be UN Secretary General, which was very short lived and very miscalculated. But aside from that, I think that if he gets an official designation, then a party conflict ceases to exist. Second, does he hope to be Chief Minister of Kerala? Far, far from it. I don't think those hopes exist anymore. Number three, if you think he has problems with the dynastic arrangement within the Congress party, can you see him working as one of the Modi acolytes? I can't either, where he would have no voice and nothing whatsoever to speak of except the script handed to him. So the only way to use him in the way that he is effective, in the way that the country needs at the moment, given the situation with Jaishankar, is to have him in some role positioned as an official, meaning Sherpa is an option, but a super permanent rep at the UN is where he would meet with world leaders all
So
the
do
time.
you believe the way Shashi has been used is undermining of Dr. Jaishankar, or do you believe it exists alongside of him?
I think you and I everybody here knows the answer. If Jaishankar were to be successful in what he is expected to do, these 9 delegations wouldn't have had to go out at all.
No, the 9
I think,
delegations were trying to show cross-party solidarity.
the voice of India needed buttressing. That is the big message of this operation, of the people going across. So there is no doubt that at least within the system, within the BJP as well as the government system, they feel that there is a big chunk missing. And they're trying to find different ways of addressing it. Shashi may be one, the delegations may be another, the prime minister's visit which big to 5 countries may be a third. So there may be a whole bunch of things which are happening. But all of them are pointing to the fact that a chunk of our influence ceiling has collapsed.
Sugata, is that how you see it, that the 7 delegations that went from country to country, at that time, the idea seemed to be to say that this is not the Modi government, it's not only about the Modi government, it's about India, and it's about India's united battle against terrorism. But Dilip says that Shashi is filling a gap in the Modi government's narrative management without, in a way that it suits the Modi government politically, because they get to taunt the Congress without really taunting the Congress. And the Congress has its hands tied. Maybe Tharoor thought the Congress would expel him, which they haven't. I mean, it's a very sort of who blinks first kind of, game of chess.
No, I partially agree with what Dilip ji has said, but then I sit far, far away from Delhi. I sit in Bangalore. So I mean, from the little that I can read, I don't. If I understand, if I've tried to understand the Modi mind or his actions, I don't think Modi is trying to put Shashi Tharoor forward to checkmate Jaishankar. In fact, Jaishankar has done his bit for Modi, and I don't think Modi would. Modi has played along with people for long periods of time, his bureaucrats or his ministers, and I don't think he is the kind who will suddenly make those changes. And he's not sending any messages, is my feeling. Shashi Tharoor was extremely useful to the Modi regime or to the Indian government, and therefore he has been picked. That is, as I told you earlier, Barkha, they needed a patriotic, neutral, independent voice to speak on India's behalf. And they couldn't have found a better person than Shashi Tharoor. And now, to all these speculation that we love to make, whether he'll be given an official position, whether the Sherpa thing will be offered to him, whether he'll be a freewheeling ambassador across countries. So you're actually, there are two things. One is anything less than the external affairs ministership is too small
Yeah.
for Shashi. It's completely, and the Sherpa thing is a bureaucratic thing. Lots of bureaucrats have held it, and and the other role that you're speaking about, going from country to country, building goodwill for India. That is actually the Prime Minister's role. Why will the Prime Minister give it away to Shashi Tharoor? So I don't think Shashi Tharoor has a permanent role there. Shashi Tharoor has been intelligently played by the Modi regime, and Shashi Tharoor, in turn, has played the Congress very, very beautifully, and I should commend him for that. And
Mm.
you played the Karge bit, I can't let Karge go away. When the
Huh?
presidential bit was happening,
Mm.
probably I was the only, you even did an interview with me at that point, Barka. I was probably
Mm.
the only big supporter of Karge in the
Yeah.
entire media scape. And I think I was right because the 2024 results proved it. You needed a certain kind of base to identify itself with the party, which is the Dalit base. And to a small extent, that did happen. But at that point, nobody observed another thing which I said. I said Shashi Tharoor is someone whom 350 million urban Indians or the middle class love to see there in big positions. So why don't you make him the working president? See,
Yeah.
the sad part is the Congress party, the dynasty, the family has not even used Karge well. See, Karge yesterday made a statement in Karnataka which is being poo-pooed or being he's people are all over him. He said, I don't know, the high command will decide on the chief minister. He forgot
Mm.
that he was the high command. So being a Dalit politician with such great experience and also a very sober, intelligent character, he's not a pushover
Yeah.
kind of character. But the Congress has not even utilized Karge, forget Shashi Tharoor. So what are they obsessed with? Are they obsessed with a Rahul Gandhi who can't fire? So this is the problem with the Congress party. So Shashi Tharoor has positioned himself independent of the Congress party, and my political sense says he's also independent of the BJP because he knows the kind of
Mm.
following he has comes from a very different constituency.
That is true, but Madhavan, the point is that we don't have the political system where that constituency votes directly, right? I did see here in London the kind of interest the diaspora showed in him, whether they were Congress voters or BJP voters. And if you see the sort of images from the event, there was just a huge the crowds for him just to listen to him, and not only to the Bollywood superstars was so big that I take Sugata's point that he has a constituency of his own, but they don't vote in that way, right? So he needs, like, you can have cross India, middle class, aspirational sort of
Mhm.
support, but that doesn't work for you electorally in a first past the post system. So my question is, if Tharoor is indeed independent of both the BJP and the Congress, where do we all see him going next? Madhavan.
I think, Barkha, it's important to understand that credibility is a very important factor in public life in general. That includes media and politics. And Shashi Tharoor brings to the table a kind of a credibility based on well argued positions. And to that, although he may not be a vote catcher and he may not be needed for by any party in a mass sense, not counting the Trivandrum constituency where he comes from,
Yeah.
in politics, it's very important. History shows that democracy is ultimately led by a middle class. It may not directly throw up the demagogues or the vote catchers, but there is a thought leadership that middle class provides, and it indirectly rubs on an emerging political
Mm.
class. And to that extent, Tharoor is relevant, and that is why I feel that I see Jaishankar as a good bad cop and Shashi Tharoor as a good cop in India's projected image outward, where because Jaishankar is a no nonsense person who has been in the past few years speaking against the colonial mindset. So he's become a bit of a conveyor of an image of India as of India's spine. But then, as the Operation Sindoor aftermath shows, we need old-fashioned diplomatic skills. The kind where you
Mm.
tell a person to go to hell and they begin to look forward to the journey. So there is a certain
Mm.
humor. There's a humor and style and grace that Shashi Tharoor brings, which is a classic diplomatic toolkit, and that is also needed What Modi is realizing now that his demagogy and Hindutva have reached a point, diminishing returns, and he has to hold the stage as a statesman, and especially because the diplomatic environment is far more hostile outside India than the Modi government is willing to admit. There's a lot of hard work to do, and that includes a need for skills of the kind Tharoor brings. Having said that, let me focus a bit on the Congress party, because there was a newspaper story saying that Congress is, source-based story, saying that they're giving Shashi Tharoor a long rope with which to hang himself, which means that we will not give him the halo of martyrdom. We will not expel him. Anyway, he hasn't said anything that is controversial enough to even merit a show cause notice, least of all an expulsion. There are processes, in spite of all the dynastic bias. The Nehru family has this incredible way of playing the rules when they want to and playing the individual power base when they want to. And they do it with aplomb. I've been a Congress watcher for 3 decades at least now, and I can tell you that. And to that extent, the only way is to ignore Shashi and let the backbenchers carp against him and let him take his own decision. And he is in no hurry, because he has an identity of his own as a writer, as a thinker, as a public speaker across the planet. So they will watch each other. But my own assessment is that his position as an MP will be determined by what he says or doesn't do in the parliament in the coming session. That is where I'd be watching him and his party. And as far as, and let me add, although it is irrelevant to today's debate, it's very relevant in a contextual sense. India does have problems in the international fora now. And, because there was an excellent piece by T.P. Srinivasan in one of the newspapers in the op-ed. So we need to address that, and we need some astute minds. Even Nirupama Rao, I mean, there's a lot of foreign policy problems to solve. Let me put it that way.
Like I said, and like you said, subject for another show, another day. Just the quick closing comment to Dilip. I think all of you seem to believe that a kind of direct flying the coop and going to the other side and building a nest there is not something that Shashi is trying to do, not something the BJP is wanting him to do. So in that sense, I think Madhavan makes a very important point. When Parliament convenes, and if there is a debate on Operation Sindoor, Trump, whatever, the Pahalgam, how will Shashi navigate those spaces will be important. Could that decide it this way or that way, Dilip?
Let's look at what is Shashi's core skill in life. It is to woo. Okay? So he will choose who to woo, and then to woo, we will see him charm his way into that. So I don't think we need to worry about Shashi. We need to worry about whether the Congress party makes a misstep and whether the BJP tries too hard. Because Shashi is the man who does the wooing. So you must watch that. And I think that's what this parliament session will also teach us, because he will come there and unleash a charm offensive, which will work.
All right, let's wait for which shape and form that charm offensive is directed at. On a lighter note, we leave it there. Thank you so much. Not a lot of answers at this point. The mystery continues and may sort of persist for a while. Dilip Cherian, Madhavan Narayan, Sugata, Srinivasraju, thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent